Good morning and welcome to the Stahls TV Morning Show, and welcome back, I should say. We had a few weeks off from the morning show, so we're excited to dive back in today and talk a lot about event printing. If it's your first time joining us, I'm Courtney Kubitza.
I'm Jenna.
And we have a lot of fun information for you guys today, really talking about the topic of event printing, or selling at events really, mostly. With summertime and sports tournaments and all kinds of stuff going on, a lot of questions really start to surface about how do I sell at events, how do I do it successfully, what are best practices for it. And so today at the morning show, we're going to talk about best practices, weigh in on some of the advantages and disadvantages, and hopefully set you up for success as you start to think about printing for events in different markets for the summer or beyond. And so before we do that, we always dive in with our Look of the Week.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and check that out. This was brought to us by Jill Anderson-Ross at the Sassy Gator. So I really like this look. I love the pattern that's on here, the full color digital. It looks like she either did this as a print and cut or even as a print then cut. So whenever you actually print that out on transfer paper, run it back through your cutter and cut that out. So either way, both processes are great, and this looks really awesome, especially
for the patterns and stuff in the letters. It's a very popular way, really, with the full color and to really be able to get a nice graphic in one pass. So doing it with either transfer paper or print and cut system, obviously using express print and a print and cut system like a VersaCam, it allowed her to do still that fine detail and everything, but really get a high quality print and washability. If you were doing something it's a little bit maybe for a birthday and it wasn't quite as where it's going to be used many times and durability isn't as much of a desired asset, then you could go towards maybe a transfer paper for a laser or an inkjet. That's going to be less expensive, of course, than buying a print cut system. But cool idea.
Yeah, and I see a lot of markets such as like birthdays and stuff on Etsy a lot. So that reminds me of like a lot of those shops that sell on Etsy and sell for just one-off t-shirts for birthday parties and stuff like that. So that's always a really good market to get into. Every child has a birthday every year, so it's a really good market.
Yeah, absolutely. That's children's apparel for you. Definitely a good one to dive into, and we've shared that here a few times on the morning show. But like I said, today the main topic and what we really want to talk a lot about is event printing, how to do it successfully, and how to get started if you haven't done it just yet. And so I think the first thing when you're thinking about printing for events is, what events can I print for? There's so much going on, so where do I start? Do you have any recommendations there?
Yeah, so I mean, it's all really easy to find on the internet. So whether you're doing it, Google search for like any local things that you're involved in, or I know one website called Eventbrite is really awesome. So not only can you create an event on there, but you can also search events that are going on in your area, whether that's concerts, festivals, 5Ks, like walks and runs, and a lot of different events that a lot of attendees will want customized apparel for. So, I mean, even if it's just those events going on, or high schools are having events such as sign-ups for football or football tryouts, like you can be there, or cheerleading competitions. There are a lot of events that a lot of apparel decorators don't really think of, but just being able to search that really gives you an idea of what all you can incorporate your business with.
Yeah, I think definitely using the internet to your advantage. So Google, event sites like Eventbrite that you had mentioned, Facebook even is another place you can search.
Absolutely.
And really even just using your local connections. I mean, if you're looking to sell to local and regional events, who do you know, or who do you connect with in another way? Maybe you sell apparel to them for another reason. Who can you connect with, or who can get you the in to be able to sell at a lot of these events? And I think that's a big way to kind of get your foot in the door when you already know somebody.
Yeah, and if you know someone, it's easy to book a space with them. So whenever you're booking your space, it's important to consider, is it going to be an indoor event? Is it going to be an outdoor event? Like how much space do I have? What do I need to take with me? So whether you know that person, or it's getting in touch and connecting or networking with the person that's hosting that event, that's definitely one key thing you want to find out whenever you're printing at events, is knowing your location and how much space you're going to have.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that you really need to iron out when you're planning for these events or you're getting ready to get started. And so you find the festival, you make the call to your connection or to somebody, and you think, okay, first off, do I need to pay for my booth space here?
Right.
And if you do have to pay, really doing the background to know how many attendees usually come to this event, if they have past sales from previous years, if you can dive into any of that to really understand, am I going to get a return? Because it's always a risky investment when you first go to events. I know customers that have done really, really well at things like craft fairs. I know other customers that have done not so well at craft fairs, but they've done really well at car rallies selling apparel there. And so there's a big range on whether or not and it comes down a lot to the offer that we'll talk about too, but finding out what's the cost of the booth space and really testing the waters to see, am I going to be able to make a return? Is it worthwhile investment for me to take this money in the booth space? And then when you're doing that research, what do they provide in the space? Is there a table? Is there table covers? Do I need to bring my own tent if it's an outdoor event?
Right.
Do I need to consider electric? Do I need to pay for electric? Do I need to bring a generator? A lot of people do outdoor events, and they actually do a lot of printing on site and mobile printing at the event. We actually have some pictures I want to share here that came from our Facebook group, Heat Press for Profit. And so Nancy had shared these with us, and they were from a mobile event that she had set up. So you can see there the tent that she uses to be able to display some of her products, the trailer that she uses, which actually houses all of her equipment and everything. There's kind of a, and the display is phenomenal that she has here. You can see how she processes that.
Yeah, that's like she had a really good day for it. She lucked out that she was able to put all of her product out there and have it on the racks for people to actually just come and shop. So not only was she printing on site, but she also had pre-made garments that she wanted to sell. So that's a really good idea.
And that's definitely another thing to consider with outdoor events. You can see she had the tent and the mobile printing area. So she was set up where if for some reason it was terrible weather, she could control, where her inventory was at so that she wasn't going to ruin any garments and stuff. So that's another thing to consider. And then inside of the trailer, you can see how she kind of has a nice setup there with her vinyl cutter and just different spacing, countertops and everything like that. So those are some things to consider with events. So one of the big things here is electric. If you're bringing your own mobile trailer, then obviously you can prepare yourself for electric to be able to run your heat press. A lot of people use a generator. I know some customers that say they've had success with using generators as small as I think a 3,000 or even a 2,000 for small things like your computer or your vinyl cutter. Some people say they buy a larger generator, like maybe an 8,000. That way you can run all of the things you need to over and be prepared. So if you show up to the event and you're planning to print on site, which we'll talk about, you have a generator to run that heat press or computers or things for processing payment. I mean, think about logistically, what do I need to print or do things at this event?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of stuff to take into consideration. As you can tell, I mean, we've only made like 2 or 3 points, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that all falls into it. But another thing that I noticed she did well was crafting her offer. So not only did she have all of that retail stuff, and she was printing on site, but she knew exactly what she was taking. She knew she had a certain amount of XYZ and all that she had to offer, so those customers weren't like overwhelmed with the offering. So one thing we recommend, if you don't have a setup just like that, and maybe you're just offering just blank t-shirts and a design to be put on it, and they want customization, just offering like 3 to 5 things, because you don't want to overwhelm your customer. You want to limit their offering just a little bit, so they're not like, oh, I don't really know what I want, I'll come back later, and then maybe they end up not making it back to you, or if your business is going really well and you're selling out quickly, they might come back and the size might be gone. So just having like all of that into consideration so they're not like too confused where they just want to walk away.
And on the flip side of that, really, there's a benefit to limiting that from a production standpoint is I don't have to stock 15 different garments to be able to print them or to be able to sell them. I can just stock this style and this color, and this is the decoration that goes on it. And it helps to really limit the pre-planning and the work that you have to do prior to an event, especially if you decide to pre-print and take things, being able to limit what you have available is important from that standpoint.
Absolutely. And it looks like also Nancy really knew her market. Like this was probably a market that she decorates a lot for, and she probably just had all of this stock of stuff that she got to take with her because she already decorates for this market. So if you have a market that you're already selling to, it's great to get into events with them because you can always take the stuff you already have made and sell it there and get a bigger offering.
Right, so if you're doing bike rallies or any kind of car show or even sports tournaments, let's say I decorate for a volleyball team, being able to go and sell maybe some of the logos that I've already created for their warm-up apparel, putting that on t-shirts and stuff. So really understanding your market. And I think that's important because so many people want to just do events. But they don't really understand who's actually at the event.
Right.
So if I showed up at an event, let's say when I'm sourcing garments, if I showed up at a men's softball tournament and I planned on selling a lot of apparel that's very feminine or children's style, maybe from Cabio or Boxer Craft, which tend to do really well with ladies' apparel,
Absolutely.
I would probably have a pretty strong miss because there's going to be a lot of males there. And that's another thing to think when you're planning for the event, asking them if they have a breakdown of who attends the event. How many of them are female? How many of them are male? Do you have a demographic range? Are they 18 to 32, or are they more of the 35 to 65? Because that's going to also dictate what kind of blank apparel are you going to choose, what kind of designs are you going to show them.
Right, and it's also, you want to take into consideration where you can source those blanks from. So you mentioned Boxer Craft and Cabio really fitting that female market, but more blank suppliers would be Sanmar, S&S Activewear, Bella Canvas. Those are all really good wholesaler sources where you can get a different variety. So even if you were doing a market that was just like for a cheerleading event and you needed to source all those garments from S&S Activewear and you only have an account set up with them, that's okay because they offer such a broad and a lot of variety of different items and apparel. So even if it's bags or shoes or something, it's all there. So finding a wholesaler that will reach all of those markets is definitely going to be a lot of help as well.
Yeah, and helps cut down on shipping costs and all of that too as you're planning your inventory. I'm always looking to save some money there. So those are some really important things to consider your market when you're pre-planning for these events. And then also the other thing when you're pre-planning is to consider how are you going to do it? How are you going to actually execute it at the event? Are you planning to take pre-made designs and just press them on site? Are you planning to cut customization and offer that as part of the offering? You saw in Nancy's photo where she actually had the vinyl cutter. She was cutting on demand and producing them that way. Or are you going to just pre-print everything before the event and try to sell it then? Because those are definitely three distinct ways that I find that you can do event printing. Obviously, being able to print actually prior to the event and take it with you and sell it, that comes with its own benefits and challenges. The biggest benefit is if I get a long line of people, I don't have to worry about having staff to produce garments because I'm just simply running the orders through and moving people back out to the festival. They don't have to wait for the garment. But from a decoration standpoint, I have to do a lot of work prior to, and there's a lot of risk if, let's say, that outdoor event that Nancy was at, if that wasn't a market she sold into and she had all of these garments, and the event rained out, didn't get a good attendance, and now she's stuck with all these pre-printed
unsold
garments.
Inventory. Yeah, absolutely. And I was just getting ready to talk about those pros and cons. So whether you're even doing customization there, you may want to consider if you're going to be cutting personalization. So say someone wants a name and number on the back of a t-shirt at a volleyball event. And you might want to consider who can I staff with me while I'm up front selling these t-shirts. I'm going to need someone in the back taking those names, cutting them, weeding them so that I can heat press them. So you have to take that in consideration. So if you're not doing all of the pre-printing beforehand or you're doing the customization there, you may need someone else with you so that you're not overbooking yourself.
Yeah, it's important to make sure you're staffed effectively, no matter which route you go. And so selling pre-printed inventory is probably going to be the least amount of staff required, but the most risk from a product standpoint. Another way to do it would be to actually just take screen printed transfers or pre-cut designs, even if they're in a special effect like a CAD cut glitter flake, either pre-made from transfer suppliers like Stahls or cut on your vinyl cutter in your shop prior to the event. but taking pre-made designs. And there's a company called Live Danger that does this really well, where they actually they go into events and they take, let's say, their heat press or their DTG machine or whatever they're using for printing, and they take, X amount of designs. So I have 3 specific designs. One's a screen printed transfer, one's CAD cut glitter flake, and let's say the other one is just a CAD cut fashion film. I'm taking these 3 designs, and the customer can pick their garment out of these 5 garments, and they can pick one of these 3 designs and put them together, and then I'll make their custom shirt. But I'm not stocking 85 designs. I'm not doing a ton of customization because the designs are already pre-cut and made. They're easily to be pressed on. And I'm still allowing that whole customization element where I'm letting them choose their shirt and choose their design and make their own, but I'm making it easier on myself and producing that way.
Yeah, and being able to let the customer or attendee be able to choose their designs and customize their t-shirt the way they want it to makes that event more memorable for them. And if you were the one that was providing that to them, they're going to remember your name and your business, and they're going to want to come to you for future things. So not only is that pretty much commercializing your business, but also making it more memorable for the attendees, and that's always a good thing.
It always drives the price up too.
Right.
So as you can, sell. You obviously can sell it for more if they're saying that you're making it special there for them than maybe something that they think was just mass screen printed or produced prior to the event. So a lot of benefits there. Now, biggest challenge with printing on site is the heat press. So what size do I take? Obviously, we talked a little bit about power, having that generator or making sure there's power available. So really, what kind of heat press do I take with me is the question.
I would always recommend a 16 by 20, or even if it's a 16 by 16, something a little smaller that's easier for me to pick up. Definitely a clam, though. A clam style is going to be a little better on space. It's not as big and bulky, and I won't have to worry about my swing away press just taking up way too much room.
And it's most portable, so it's easier to lift with you and one other worker rather than the Fusion, which tends to be a lot heavier of a press, unless you're in a nice, mobile printing station where you are set up and you don't have to actually move the press onto a table or in and out of boxes or anything. Then that's obviously a good option as well, but definitely something a little bit more portable, a little bit more compact is probably a lot better for that application. And
then, of course, if you're going to be vinyl cutting on site, having a 24-inch cutter is just fine. Definitely want to choose one that has a stepper motor. So if you're already working with the Roland GS24 or the Graphtec CE6000, those are both really good cutters. You're going to need something that has a lot of speed behind it, because if you're getting a lot of people coming up that want that personalization done on site, you want to just be able to run those all through quickly. So those motors are going to do that very quickly for you.
Yeah, and so when we're processing orders with customization like that, I see it being a process. So when we think about producing stuff like this on site, I always think, how logistically am I going to run these through and how am I going to do this? So as a decorator, I would think I have my vinyl cutter, I have, let's say, 20 people in line. I'm going to take those first 10, I'm going to take their orders, and then I'm going to cut all their names or all their personalization together using a larger cutter, mass run it, weed them all, press them, and then give them a turn time. Let's say it's going to take 20 minutes or 30 minutes, come back in this X amount of period, and we'll have your shirt bagged up, ready to go for you to take with you.
Right.
And so being able to do them in that bulk capacity rather than doing one, and then one with maybe a smaller, and there's a lot of benefits space-wise to having a small 12-inch cutter or something a little bit tinier in the booth space, but if you're able to somehow nest the stand with a larger cutter like Nancy had done in her trailer, you can really maximize efficiency by just producing orders, especially at a large festival or event in that way.
Right. You definitely have to be strategic about it, that's for sure, being able to take all of that into consideration. So that definitely helps. And then you also want to think about those order forms. So as we were talking about Live Danger and how they do that well, they always had those order forms. So if someone does want personalization, they can just write that down and then come back later when it's done. So that way you have all those order forms stacked up with their names on there, what they want as their personalization, and that way you can run that through and then tell them, come back, this will be done.
And allowing them to fill that out will help kind of reduce the errors. So if somebody, obviously my last name's Kubitza, so it's not the easiest to spell.
Right.
And so if I needed my name on a shirt, there's a ton of different ways you can spell it. And so if I write it out and then confirm it with your worker, on how it's going to be, that my handwriting and stuff, they're reading it correctly, then there's not a lot of guesswork when I go to produce the shirt where I'm maybe spelling a name incorrectly or getting something messed up in the design.
Right. And of course, although this is going to be a busy day for on-site event printers, definitely quality is still going to be huge. They're going to remember what you gave them, and if you spelled their name wrong, that's not going to be very memorable for them or your business. So being able to have that to kind of be your back. So like, you filled this out, I know that this is what I use, so you know that everything's correct and falling in line. And then of course, we have the on-site event printing that is very interactive for those customers. So we actually have a video of where Stahls actually went to an event with New Balance and actually did on-site event printing. So we'll go ahead and show you that now.
Hey, DVD from Sprayground. I'm here at the New Balance National Indoors 2012. We just did a collaboration with New Balance. We made all of their backpacks for this event today. Colors are inspired from the New Balance 800. Really dope bag, inspired by the hell of my name is. All the kids can put their number that they wear on their bib. Really, really cool stuff. All the kids are waiting online 4 stories high to get it customized. Let's go check it out.
A junior at Holy Trinity High School, and I'm competing in the Emerging Elite 800. And I love the bag. I love the new design because it's really bright and it's fun. And it's not just like black and boring.
I'm really excited to get it customized. I'm gonna get it designed with runner because I'm a runner.
I got cat daddy. I totally skilled. From my hometown.
I can't believe we get a bag and we even get to put our names on it. I feel it's very special. I get to show them that I was able to come here and experience nationals.
I keep all my track stuff in here, my spikes and all my clothes and my uniforms.
I'm just going to put all my school stuff in there. I bring it to all my track meets. I can fit my spikes in there, everything I need.
So it's a pretty cool event that we did there with New Balance. It's been a few years since we had done that one, but it really speaks to how easy heat printing and vinyl cutting and being able to produce at an event can be. And for that, we actually used the Easy Team Designer from CADWorks Live and just made sure we had Wi-Fi at the event. And use that to produce the names very quickly and run them through the cutter. And so definitely a lot of opportunity with that personalization. And that was something that wasn't a t-shirt, it was a bag. So that's something else to consider with crafting your offer. What are you gonna, is it just gonna be t-shirts, or are you gonna be able to show shorts or pants or a bag or something else to kind of maybe package everything together? And that really leads to how you want to price things at your event. So we mentioned that adding customization can make a selling price a little bit higher when you're selling at an event, because you're there and you're creating a memorable experience. The pricing tends to be a little bit higher than what you would price something at your retail store, because they're paying for something to take home and remember the experience from. So keep that in mind when you're setting up your pricing structure. If you're choosing items like the bags, the pants, the t-shirts, offer packages. Let customers buy multiples and get a discount, because in the end, it'll increase your sell price. And be able to encourage them to buy a little bit more. If you want to offer customization for an extra price, that's another opportunity, because I can say, it's going to be $10 to add customization to this pre-printed t-shirt that I've brought with me. So it's another kind of way to do the two together, pre-print some inventory and also offer customization.
Right, so not only are you getting that t-shirt for $40, but they want their name or number on the back of it, so it's an additional $10, so $50 for a t-shirt. I mean, they'll pay that for the event, trust me.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's at a cheerleading competition, track events, like they want to remember that they were there and being able to participate in that, so they want to buy what's there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you want to think about the corporation if you are doing it for someone that has hired you to come in and make the t-shirts for the event. So you would typically do about 10 to 20% for that organization in sales. So you also want to take that into consideration whenever you're coming up with your pricing. So if an organization happened to hire you to do the event, a portion of those sales will go to them, and it's typically 10 to 20%. And then, of course, some events, as we mentioned earlier, will require payment for the booth, or the space that you're taking up. So that's another thing to take into consideration whenever you're coming up with your pricing strategy.
Yeah, making sure you're making enough margin if you're paying for booth space or the time for your workers to be there, and just making sure you're setting yourself up to be profitable at the event.
Right. Just as you would with your labor and overhead at whether you're working from home or you have a brick and mortar shop. So just same thing, just labor and overhead for a different place.
And, I know a lot of decorators have done this for a number of years, and they say it's a lot of trial and error because some events are very successful and some are not. And so I always recommend reflecting when you get back from an event and say, here's what we did well, here's what we didn't do well, here's what we need to improve for next time. Or maybe it was the designs and garments that we took to this event weren't right for the market. So maybe if we go back to this, we should make these changes. Or, wow, we sold a ton at this event, so what did we do well so we can make sure to maximize that success at future events.
Absolutely.
And so the other couple things we wanted to talk about before we end the morning show today is order processing. So people tend to buy more if they can use their credit cards. It's just the way things work. Cash is obviously ideal because you're able to take that cash there and put it right into your little cash station, but if you're able to process cards through like a Square reader, that can be really beneficial in making people want to buy more and just people being able to buy in general, since a lot of people don't have cash in them today.
Right. I mean, it's just more and more you see they're just carrying their debit cards or credit cards on them. So being able to process that order right then and there, but with just their credit card so they don't have to go to an ATM and take cash out, that may just steer the business away.
Yep, and I can't stress enough, when you set up your booth space, really making sure your display and your signage is easy for people to order and easy to know who they're buying from. This is a branding opportunity. So if you're there printing at the event, you want to make sure they know that it's Courtney's T-shirts and more. And so if they have a need for T-shirts in the future, even if it's not at this event, then have business cards available or have information where they can contact you for other custom T-shirt orders in the past, or be able to see, wow, this company does all this. Maybe I can have them do this event that I run. Maybe it's a volleyball tournament where I'm at a softball tournament for my son. So there's a lot of opportunity for branding and just connecting with other people, so don't miss out on that opportunity there.
Yeah, and it's whether you're putting your logo on the tent that you're selling or maybe the table covers, you can do that, but also take into consideration you can use that T-shirt too, whether you're just putting your logo on the sleeve of it or on the yoke of the T-shirt. That will remind them who made their T-shirt, and then they'll come back to you if they have other orders need fulfilled.
Right, and then as you're building your signage, just make sure you make it easy for them to order. Pricing, how they purchase, how they order, if it's customization, how long it takes to get the custom order. All of that is another thing to consider because you just want to make it easier for people to want to buy. They don't want to be confused. A lot of people don't want to ask for pricing, so being able to just have it purely displayed, here's the methods of payment that I take, so they know you do take credit cards if that's available or cash only. And then just making it easy for them to choose their custom designs or add their customization is really important.
Right.
So I think we've shared a ton of information on event printing today. There's just so much you can do. So a couple things I recommend if this is a topic you want to dive into. First, we are going to have a recap of this later this week on the Stahls TV blog. So if you aren't subscribed to the blog, I'd recommend doing that. And you'll get to see kind of all these steps outlined a little bit in crafting your offer and creating everything for your event printing. Secondly, I would recommend joining the Heat Press for Profit Facebook group that we recently started, just because there's a lot of great information in there from people that have done this very successfully, and just other tips and tricks for getting started with a lot of different opportunities. But it's always great to hear feedback and learn from other decorators that have been successful.
Yeah, and if you are going to add the Facebook group, remember to answer the questions so that we can approve your request to get in. So there are 3 questions that you have to answer in order to become a member of that group. So just fill those out so that we can get you in there and start interacting with some other apparel decorators.
Perfect. Check and see if we had any questions that have come in. Just a few hellos. Hello, everybody. We're glad to see you here. Oh, Puerto Rico. It's sunny here as well. Not near as warm, probably. But we appreciate you guys tuning in to the morning show today, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us.